Mm.
Where is my mouse?
Come on. Come on. Come on. Seriously. Surface. You know, full year. I don't know how far back I'm going to, the Surface business has been over $1 billion for a long time.
Not every quarter, though.
For
several
the past 3 years, it has been. Well, sorry. You're right. Yeah, there were 2 quarters in fiscal year 17, but they were right below $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For a second there, I thought I was going to be able to make this case that. Wait, that's 18, that's 17, that's 18. This is the same year. You fool. 2016. 2.
Let me get the chat open.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. And actually, yeah, then 2006, this is 2015. Well, 2016, 2000, there were a couple of quarters. Yeah, but still, I mean, I would say the last 3 fiscal years, it definitely averages over $1 billion, well over $1 billion. That last quarter didn't hurt. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. But, well, it's not always true. Gaming is usually like twice Surface revenue, interestingly.
Ready?
Sometimes more. Yes.
Well, Paul, I don't know what your weather's like today, but
let me express it in the most visible way possible. Do you see the light on my face, Brad?
Mm-hmm.
You see how warm and sunny that light looks?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why it looks so warm and sunny? Oh, it's the sun. It's like 67 degrees outside.
Well, I have some news for you.
I saw that.
Yeah, this is what happened at my house yesterday. This is
this is how spring goes. This is how spring is. Spring is, fits and starts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's definitely coming. My grass is greening up. That's
yeah.
But that was about grape size, maybe a little bit larger than that. And
was it like hail or whatever?
Oh yeah, it was pretty fun. It should be heading towards your way. So go outside late this afternoon, look up, and
I'll look, but why do I act surprised? I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It looks like it's going to be okay.
Well, we will find out.
Seriously good weather coming. It's
good.
We'll
find out. Jamie asked a question. He says, Brad, when are you going to hardwire this display? Probably never.
Right.
Primarily because it's kind of hard to see. But I mean, this is a laptop, just Surface Book 2. It would mean I would have to run a cable up to here and plug it in. And candidly, it's just not as convenient, easy. It's another cable. I mean, the box to do it is all right there. So it wouldn't be terribly difficult.
Yeah. But do you have a way to run the wires behind the wall?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
So it could be done, but then I'd have to plug it in, and then it's still the same thing. I don't know. I mean, we don't change the picture too much, and it works.
Plus, that would be like one less thing we could complain about.
Right. No, it would just be Skype every day, which is supposedly adding the ability, by the way, to I think they're increasing, if I remember this correctly, they're increasing the number of people that can be in a chat room, I think up to 50.
Right.
Because
Brad, do you remember how many people we had on our work call this morning?
Yeah.
5,
8,
maybe 6, whatever
like
it was. How well did that call go? Do you remember?
Well, I couldn't
get any technical issues come to mind?
Yeah, I could not get my microphone to work.
And you were not the only one. I believe I observed at the time that this was literally the worst Skype-based work call I've ever been on. Not just because, it was ridiculous content, but because No, because of the technical problems.
Yeah. And on the technicality side, it's Apple came out swinging a little, sort of. I think they were swinging at softballs, and maybe I think Spotify's throwing hardballs. But they came out with a statement trying to refute Spotify's claim, which some of them have valid points, I guess. It's that Apple had created this store and it created the marketplace and it's due its payments.
Hey, let me stop you right there.
But they didn't address.
Why does it do any payments? Why? What do you mean? Did Apple create an app store out of the goodness of its heart to benefit customers worldwide, or did it do it to benefit itself and its platforms? I mean, Spotify is in the unfortunate position of having to compete with the company that's hosting its app on its own platform, right? Apple has its own music service, and will soon have its own video service that will compete with the Netflixes and Hulus and so forth of the world. Netflix left. Well, Netflix is still in the App Store, but they stopped allowing you to do payments through there because Apple takes a 30% tax on all revenues through the App Store in the first year, and then 15% every year after that on subscriptions. They just keep getting paid forever, even though the App Store is no longer playing a role in the distribution of that app. It has nothing to do with the acquisition of a subscription. Those terms that's unfair. Yeah. It's probably illegally unfair. And like I said, for Spotify in particular, Apple has its own service. You can do this yourself. It's fun. Search for music in the App Store and see what comes up. What comes up is 10 apps ahead of Spotify, which is the #1 music app on iOS. And 7 of those are Apple apps, some of which have nothing to do with music, including Apple Music, which is the #1 slot because, oh, by the way, there's an ad for Apple Music at the top of the results, which they didn't pay for. And it's just, it's a little hard to defend this company and this behavior. The other thing, too, by the way, a lot of people probably misunderstand this. Apple did not invent app stores, folks. This is not the first app store. It's what Apple invented was a platform that you cannot acquire apps in any other way from, thus creating a monopoly for themselves where they control everything that happens on the platform. Apple has prevented Spotify from getting on Apple Watch until Spotify complained publicly, and then magically they were approved for that. Apple has prevented them from getting on the HomePod to date. I'm sorry, but this for a company that sells such a rosy picture of how wonderful it is and how much it loves people, this kind of business practice is well understood, and it has nothing to do with being nice.
Yep. And the other, wow, they could solve all of their problems overnight. Paul, all they have to do is let you load apps from somewhere other than the App Store. And we all know that's not going to happen. That's
not going to happen. So I actually think the better relief here is that there needs to be a compromise on the revenue that Apple realizes from subscription-based services that have nothing to do with the App Store. Yep. Netflix, I started to go down this road, left or dropped the ability to pay for or buy or learn about their subscription through the iOS store because they were paying Apple over $800 million every year in the form of an Apple tax thing because of the revenues, just because people happen to click on the button inside of their app on the iOS platform. It's astonishing, and these kind of conditions do not apply to Apple's own service, right? And it gives them an unfair advantage. And Apple has asked the EU, and Apple has asked the EU to look at this. The EU, by the way, has agreed to look at it. And they even specifically mentioned that if it comes together correctly, we could see this working out the way it worked for Google, which is not well, by the way.
Yeah. So we will, it'll be interesting, I think, to see how this moves forward. Especially because they're launching, a TV service later this month, more than likely, which means that, again, they're going to be in the exact same position where they could use their market power to dominate the competition because for the exact same reason Spotify is complaining.
Unfortunately, so in Apple's case, they had previously entered the ebook market in what has become known as an illegal fashion. And in the United States and Europe and elsewhere, antitrust regulators looked at the collusion that they did
Mm-hmm.
with their top publishers and decided that this was illegal. And Apple was responsible for I don't know what the exact percentage, but something like a 20 to 40% increase in the price of ebooks, simply because they allowed the publishers to get the terms that they wanted, rather than compete in an actually open market. So there's a template here for their behavior and for antitrust regulators to look at what to do about it. Finding Apple isn't enough. Apple has more money than God. I mean, what needs to happen is that this behavior has to be stopped.
Yeah.
And I don't, like you said, I don't. We're not going to get to a point where there are third-party stores on the
No,
iOS platform.
that will never happen. I don't think.
And
that
I'm
will
not
ever
looking
happen.
for that. I don't think that's That's not even fair. I actually don't think that users want that. Right? Not for the most part. I do think the system on Android is better. Okay, whatever. But the truth is, given the choice, most people just load apps from the store. I mean, we want the benefits of the store. We agree with the benefits of the store as consumers. But I think any thinking person would look at the situation in which these very successful apps and services have to compete, especially when Apple has a player, as a play in that market, is not fair. And, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. The good thing here, no matter how this shakes out, I'm happy that somebody finally just, got the kahunas to stand up and say, okay, I don't think that this is right. Especially if it's going to end up in inflating the consumer prices, because to Spotify's point, they lose a 30% cut for nothing each month for just simply having an app in that store, which is, in a margins business, that's pretty tough.
Well, I look, I don't want to go on too much about this because this is a topic that I feel so strongly about. And there's so much damning evidence here. But, one of the things that it just amuses me, that Apple complained about Spotify not paying artists enough, because, of course, what it's trying to appeal there, who it's trying to appeal to there are artists, right? We just talked about this, Brad, the low margin nature of these content delivery businesses, and how I think we talked about this, how TV companies will come in and screw up with the content, like Apple was doing this with their TV service, and how you never get to release the thing you want to release. And there's always this kind of pressure between the, creators and the people that actually are distributing the stuff. And, Spotify's trying to make a business of this. Of course they care about artists, but the world has changed. I mean, they're trying to make a go of this. But again, they are constrained by conditions that Apple itself is not constraining its own service to.
Right.
Apple Music is subsidized by the iPhone. Is Apple? Someone had made the case. I don't remember who this was. Maybe you'll remember that Apple should give a percentage of every iPhone sale to its partners like app makers and so forth. The idea being that this success story goes both ways, right? One of the reasons the iPhone is so successful is all these apps are on it. Shouldn't they benefit directly from this? And then the answer is they don't. I'm not actually saying they should necessarily, but but Apple Music does. Apple Music is propped up by this gigantic thing that is an economic engine that Spotify cannot benefit from. And that itself is unfair. It just it's like we make this argument about other businesses. When you can subsidize something like Apple Music, what you've created is a business that could never have succeeded on its own. Apple Music would never be competitive with Spotify if it wasn't called Apple Music and didn't have all that stuff behind it.
Yeah. So the interesting thing to what you just said, because remember, they bought Apple Music. It was Beats or whatever. They bought that technology, was supposedly.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. We know we got the headphones, but there was also that music streaming of platform behind it.
Sure. How was that doing? Do you remember?
Yeah, which would be really interesting to know is, was that platform profitable before they even showed up? And I suspect it probably wasn't.
Are you kidding me? No.
Yeah.
No. So Apple, they don't have a lot to fall back on here, and I sort of reject. You see a lot of this. There's a lot of rationalization, and if we exclude the Apple-oriented people who are just gonna Apple, whatever. Apple made its case, We always this notion that there's two sides to every story is very political, but no, and I don't mean to say Apple doesn't have a few points. I don't mean it like that, but I mean overall, this this is really clear cut, and I don't know. It's too bad.
Yeah.
Or it's good, I guess, that it's happening. Someone, like you said, it's good that someone has finally called them on this in a way that will probably trigger real change.
Yeah. On the continuing the music theme here, Rich Wood just posted that if you were using Groove Music to stream your OneDrive collection, you won't.
Oh,
be
tell
anymore.
me you're kidding! Stop.
Microsoft is killing OneDrive music streaming, as posted in a new support document, I believe, beginning March 31st. Windows 10 users will no longer be able to stream music through OneDrive through the Groove Music app, which basically makes Groove Music app dead.
Pointless.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, there is one more thing that Groove Music does that I don't think gets enough credit.
Takes up hard drive space?
No, close. There's an ad in it for Spotify. So, yeah, there's not much there. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, that's
too bad.
I personally do not use that feature, but I know plenty of people that do.
I actually have music in OneDrive, and it's the only thing I don't use Groove a lot anymore, like most people, I guess. But I mean, let's face it, for a generation of people who grew up on physical media and had albums and cassettes and then CDs, they have ripped their music to their hard drive. They put it up in OneDrive. You only get like 7 gigs of storage if it's free, I think. And of course you get a terabyte if it's not free, but I specifically put stuff up in there that was not available on the major services, right? So I would always have it. Always is such a funny word. It felt like always when I did it.
Always until the terms of service change.
Well, I guess I could still store it there, right? But I can't. All right, so obviously the Groove Music app is going to disappear because it literally has no point now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can play audio files back through Groove Music app, but you're not going to be using the main functionality that was left, which would be syncing it to your OneDrive collection to use it as a proper media player. Yeah.
I don't know why this bothers me so much. It's so obvious and in keeping with everything they do, and yet for some reason this really bothers me.
It got zoomed again.
Boy. All right, that's too bad.
Yeah, so that's the last of the fun things. Some high-profile executives left Facebook because they see the sinking ship, and
well, actually, so I will say this. I mean, I have a story on my desktop that I've not published. It's not done yet, and I'm not sure what direction it's going to go in now. But it's about whether you can trust Facebook and everything. And the part I've written compares what Facebook has said, right? The Mark Zuckerberg post about how we're going to redo everything and blah, 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 to when Microsoft made the shift with trustworthy computing in 2002. And what eventually came out of that in direct form for users was Windows XP Service Pack 2, right? Which was a big deal. And then the next, I don't remember if it might have been Service Pack 1 for Windows Server 2003. It's a server, not a surfboard, blah, blah, blah. The firewall, all that stuff they added for security. But they really turned the company around from a security perspective and pledged to, and then did, ensure that everything they ever released always went through some kind of a security review. And that, of course, has evolved over time. But if you would ask someone in early 2002, do you trust Microsoft to do this effectively? I think a lot of people would have said no. And today, I believe that actually from that perspective, Microsoft is probably one of the more trusted of the platform makers, right? Of the big computer tech companies, whatever. And so they did turn things around. And so it kind of makes me wonder if, because anything could happen, right, with Facebook. I mean, maybe they will turn it around. I look at what they do, or what they say they're going to do, and I find myself completely uninterested in it. But I will acknowledge, maybe there's a point to this. And the thing I thought of, because I had been writing this when those guys announced, when Facebook announced those people were leaving, the WhatsApp CEO and et cetera, was that's actually a good sign, right? because these are the old school guys who don't want things to change at Facebook. The fact that they're leaving the company, it potentially might mean that Facebook is serious about making this change,
Well,
because you know me, I'm always looking for the silver lining of things,
Yeah.
But that was how I that's what I saw. That's how I sort of read that when it happened. I need to look into this more, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, we will find out. Time will definitely tell on that one.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the last thing kind of on the agenda, to little to no surprise, Apple announced that WWDC will be held in the latter half of the first week of June. I believe it's June 3rd through the 7th.
Yeah. Right. Not on a Monday.
Yeah, because why would you have it on a Monday?
I don't. Why wouldn't you have it? I don't know. Also in San Jose,
Yeah.
obviously it's a big show, and they can't do it at their own facility, right, where they would have product announcements. I don't remember this well enough to know for sure, but I know they had done it at the Moscone Center probably many, many times.
But I don't know if the construction on that is done. That's.
You think that's what? Yeah. So
I
I found the San Jose location to be kind of interesting.
Where did they hold it last year? Was it in San?
Yeah,
Jose
that's what
again?
I was just. I don't remember.
WWDC 2018.
It was probably in exactly the same place, and I just don't remember it.
It might have been. Yeah, it was in San Jose.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
So it's got to be related to the Moscone
Yep, the construction
overhaul that they're doing, which I would assume they're going to be done on because that's why everybody left there, Microsoft included.
Right. Well, that, and I think there were a lot of complaints about San Francisco from attendees because it's such an expensive destination, and there are so many shows there too. And you and I have been screwed by this. You get into some Microsoft event, and there's another thing happening, and the hotel rooms are all taken, and what you can get is still 3 times the price, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And it's just a tough city to get around. I mean, it's a beautiful place, but it's kind of overrun.
As we're chatting here, Greg Edwards says, that said, I play music from OneDrive through the Groove almost never these days, although he is in the process of reorganizing it. So maybe not as many people do it. I've read his first comment.
We're gonna listen. It's the these guys. I mean, and there are going to be people who've held out on this thing, right? I mean, they must have taken away. They took away the Groove app on mobile, right? That's gone. So I mean, that would have cut back on the user base significantly. But for Windows 10 users who want to have music that way, it's just a nice thing to have. I mean, it's. I wonder what the impetus for this is. I wonder if there's some kind of a cost to Microsoft of people streaming that much stuff. I don't know. It's strange. It just seems like a strange thing to do.
Yeah. One specific, and why now? Why not when? Why not just kill the whole app when they killed the service?
Yeah. Right. I mean, when they got rid of the Groove Music Pass, that's when the Spotify ad appeared. And I'm wondering now if they're going to change it. And that maybe this is related to the release of the next version of Windows 10, right? 19H1.
Maybe.
It's just I don't understand why this. I'm literally bothered by this. And I don't really. It's not so much that I use it, but I do have music there. I mean, that won't go away. I mean, they're not going to take away music, but they are going to take away the ability to stream it. Like I had asked Microsoft this when it happened, when they got rid of the Groove Music Pass, whether Spotify would adopt the ability to stream your music from OneDrive and integrate your own music into their collection, right? Which was one of the great benefits of Groove at the time, that you could mix and match like that. You had your own music, you had their subscription-based library. You can do that kind of stuff with Apple today, and you can do it with Google Play Music. I think that's about it, basically, from the major services. Like Amazon doesn't allow this anymore; they got rid of this. And then Spotify, you can have music on a device and it will appear in the player, but they don't have any way to, sync it from a central location. Like it's kind of a garbage manual process, which is one of the many things I don't like about Spotify.
Well, what else you got going on today? This weekend, maybe? Anything? Hail? Tornadoes?
No, I mean, my son's home this week, which has been kind of cool. and we're celebrating. His birthday is actually in the beginning of April, but because of the schedule, we're kind of celebrating it this week. And no, I'm doing Ask Paul late today because we had that work meeting this morning. We should mention, we're gearing up for our Health of Tech thing. We should talk about that a little bit. Tuesday, March 26th, so about 10 days from now.
Yep.
We'll be in New York at, doors will open at 3 for those, for people who do sign up. We're not saying where it's at yet, but it's in New York City, in Manhattan, Midtown.
I will say that when you do sign up, you do get told the location. So it's not you're blindly signing up for.
Yeah. Just right. It's Bob's Loft. It's at the corner.
Jersey.
Yeah. No, it's in Midtown Manhattan. And the event itself is 4 to 5-ish. We're going to open the doors at 3 so people can hang out. And then we're all going over to Rattlingham West after that for a meetup that starts at 6 p.m. officially. But, it's a meetup. It's just whoever wants to come. So anyone who's in New York at that time and wants to swing by will be there. Mary Jo's going to be part of this, of course.
Everything's free, by the way. No expenses. We just need a ticket count.
That way we can... not everything at the meetup is free.
Well, so, I guess if you buy alcohol,
we're not selling tickets to our event. It is a free event. So if you can go, it's free. Like it is free.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So just
just a casual chat.
A casual chat about the tech, if you will, with some people you might recognize, maybe. Two of the 3 being right here.
Right. It's sort of like this, but with someone normal between us.
Yeah. I'll take that as not as an insult, but
well, I lump myself into that. It's okay.
Yeah. I didn't say you were wrong. I mean,
any golfing plan for this weekend? Is the weather?
No. It's actually pretty chilly outside. It's 40. I mean, chilly relative compared to yesterday, which reached like 72. It's 44 right now, which is
yikes. Yeah, it's 69 degrees here.
Yeah, that's a perfect
it will be in
spring
40s the next couple of days. But as we discussed, lots of 50s in the forecast. I think spring is here.
I'm pretty sure my grass is starting to turn back to green.
We have a little flower out in the front yard that everyone's really proud of. There's a like among the reeds or whatever. And then you can see the trees, like they have those little red buds they get, before the leaves happen.
Gonna be good. It's going to be not snowing, hopefully.
Yeah. I can't wait.
All right, folks, so that wraps it up for today. As Paul said, we will be in New York. Check out actually the description of this podcast. We'll keep a little link there to make it easier to find. Have yourselves a wonderful Friday, and we'll catch you right back here next week.
Oh, my.
What?
Oh, my. Hold one moment. I know this is never going to work because I know my fucking schedule is so shitty. Oh, that might work. What is this thing? Potential. Oh, yeah. So Huawei, right? They offered to send me to Paris. Now they're offering to send me to China.
You wanted to go to China for a while.
Yep. And it's the week of April 22nd, which is the Easter week. Yes.
What the bunny would want you to do.
It's the week before our build.
Oh,
I think I know, but fuck it. Maybe I could come back to
you might
the West.
If you time it up right, like fly back from there. But then you're going to bring me the bird flu.
Yes.
I'm worried about how I fit
that's selling it. That's not hurting it. but I see what you're saying. All right.
Later.